Good Lord. Okay, let's see. Let me know if y'all can hear me. I'm a bit disappointed with the sound last time I was on here. Please let me know if you can hear me. Please let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me. If you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me, please. Important to me that you can hear me. Just let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, just drop even a thumbs up or a like or something. Can you hear me? Kotato, can you hear me? All right, beautiful stuff. Bow, 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 bow. Oh my God. Tensions are flaring in South Africa. It's almost as if for the first time since 1994, we see a great storm brewing in the political climate of South Africa. Citizens of this republic are expressing major dissatisfaction with the current government and its wasteful mismanagement of the state's resources, right? So I don't know about you, but if you look around right now in South Africa, the best you can see is infrastructure collapsing, illegal immigration unchecked, and unemployment that is so deep that even the highly skilled professionals like doctors are struggling to find jobs here in South Africa. So it's becoming abundantly clear that this is not the new South Africa that we ordered. We are the Born Free. So welcome to the Born Free Network. We are the heirs of this democracy. And because of that, very important conversations need to be had. So before I go even deeper into this, I think it's very important to firstly clarify my position, right? The only reason why I am doing this is because we cannot sit back and fold our arms and allow the future of this country to be guided by those that I consider largely misguided, right? We need to move expeditiously, okay? We need to deplatform all these illegitimate and unqualified voices because the impact of the things that they say, the impact of their narratives is no longer just theoretical to us, right? It has become something of a reality because we live through this in the society right now. When we began interviewing prostitutes back then, we kind of lifted the veil of what they do and removed the shame from their line of work. And what happened is that there was a cultural shift that was triggered, right? Prostitution began to creep into our personal relationships with women because modern women right now view every interaction with a male as a transaction, and promiscuity has been rebranded as some form of empowerment. And the sexual revolution that they call it is actually deep down at the core just a form of prostitution. So I only say that because it's an example of what's going to happen if we continue to allow the voices of degenerates to be amplified, right? We're going to have the type of society where degenerates are normal. Everyone in society is going to be a degenerate because we've allowed too many homosexuals, degenerates, drug users, prostitutes to sit in front of a mic and say whatever it is that they think, unaware of how it's harming our society at large. So I think we really need to hijack the narrative. We have to try our best to flood the algorithm with something better, something rooted in values, truth, and dignity. Okay. I think that's really the mission that we're trying to build for here at the Born Free. Okay. So let's go right into it. With all of that being said, I need you guys to understand that South Africa is burning, right? South Africa is burning, and the most explosive allegations that were made by the police commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, have begun to really pull back the curtain on something which is far more dangerous and far more sinister than the mere corruption that we experience every day. His revelations basically threaten to unravel what happens, or really what happens behind the scenes of a really highly organized criminal syndicate. One that is so deeply entrenched with the government and the ANC itself that today we find a minister, sitting minister, being implemented in this scandal through Senzo Mchunu, right? So South Africans are slowly really waking up to the international nature of this illicit drug trade, where it's a network, right, of narcotics, arms, and human trafficking that not only passes through South Africa, but it seems to be endorsed, protected, and even rewarded by the people that we have elected to uphold the rule of law in our country. So as this web of like lies and complicity starts to unravel and comes to the surface, it's like one really disturbing question comes to my mind, right? And it's hardly a question, to be quite honest, because it's a reality. We're seeing it happen day by day. But the question that I ask myself is it possible that South African government officials are complicit in a systematic destruction of the military aged South African men? Now, let me try and simplify that. Do you think that our government officials are taking any type of money from international forces to launch chemical warfare to keep the military aged South African men subdued so that they cannot resist any type of enslavement that's coming? I think that's a reality. I see that happening. I don't know about you, right? Because most of these men are like aged 15 to 40, right? People who would naturally be inclined to join the army and defend their country, or people who are naturally inclined to be engineers, doctors, lawyers, people who can actually take a stand and shape the society the way that it should be. Most of them right now are slumped over, unable to even remember what their name is because drugs have totally fried their brains. And I'm old enough to remember a time here in South Africa where it was so hard to even find a drug addict. And street dwelling drug addicts were things which were really just confined to the cities like Durban, uh, Cape Town, Johannesburg. But right now, the prevalence is astonishing. Even in a hood, you find people who are homeless drug addicts. And that to me just shows that the whole situation, instead of getting better for us as South African, it's kind of just gotten worse because our own leaders are launching a war on us, right? And I really refuse to be gaslit by politicians who are telling me that things are getting better. There's 2% economic growth a year. Whatever. There's none of that. All of that is nothing but just a lie. There's no economic growth. There's none of that. It's all just a way to keep our minds dormant and keep us docile and not really see what's going on in this country. This country and the way that the state of our streets and decay of our communities is, it's a targeted erosion of the people. It happen doesn't happen by mistake, right? It just all points to a society in deep crisis, and the people who have put us in this crisis are benefiting greatly. But let me not stray from what I really wanted to say. The reason for this live stream is I wanted to say that apartheid was good for black people. Let me say that again. Let me fix the mic and say it again. Apartheid was good for black people. I can say this confidently. I can say that life under apartheid was in many ways better for black South Africans than life under ANC democratic rule. I understand that that's maybe a bold statement to make, but it's a statement that can be substantiated. So let me be clear. I'm not advocating for a return to apartheid, right? I'm just saying that I want us to have an unbiased investigation into the material circumstances of each South African now versus 30 to 40 years ago when apartheid was at its peak. And we really need to see, when did the black person have a better quality of life in these time periods? And so as I was sitting down and thinking about this, it actually brought me to a point where I actually started researching and investigating some of the stats which I think determine whether or not a population is doing well. So unemployment, homicide rates, sexual abuse, stuff like that. So I picked up 5 of them that I really want to share with you now. And I want us to compare South Africa in 1971 versus in 2021. 1971 was at the height of apartheid rule. 2021, I would say, was at the height of economic power being in the hands of Black people and political power being in the hands of Black people. So we ought to really just compare the two times. So in 2021, right, let's start in 1971. In 1971, the unemployment rate stood at 13%, right? But in 2021, the employment rate had skyrocketed to 33%. That means that there are over 16.8 million more people that the government has now thrust into poverty. So at the height of apartheid rule, there were 17 million less unemployed people than there are right now in the height of ANC rule. That means the ANC has been successful in launching 17 million people into poverty. Boom, take that. Great success, right? Let's look at the value of our currency. Have a look at our rand versus the United States dollar over the years. In 1971, one US dollar was equal to 1 rand 40. In 2021, one US dollar was equal to 14 rand 80 cents. Astonishing stuff, man. That's like a 957% depreciation in the value of the rand. Now, this doesn't just reflect inflation or any of these thumbsuck numbers. This is the collapse of economic stability and purchasing power for real ordinary South Africans. You and I know, like we used to pay 4 rand for a loaf of bread, which had 19 slices. Now we pay 20 rand. The slices are still 19. So what's really happening, right? According to the power crisis, I don't even want to go deep into the stats. That's clearly in front of all of our eyes. We can see how Eskom is failing to meet the energy needs of South Africa. And this is because we're coattailing on an energy utility that was built to service only Afrikaner people. So you're telling me 30 years into power, the South African government is unable to build another Eskom. That's kind of crazy to me because I was kind of following the life path of the Afrikaner Broederbond. It was formed in 1918, and by 1948 they took power, and they convincingly were able to change material circumstances for Afrikaner people to become richer. So I don't know what's wrong with our government, or maybe there's a much more malicious intent behind it, but we'll delve into that a bit deeper. All right, and then the final two things that I want us to have a look at is homicide rates and sexual violence against women. So in 1991, South Africa recorded approximately 16,000 homicides. Okay, that's Gaza numbers. That's crazy. 16,000 homicides. But this was happening at a time when we were in a tumultuous political climate, right? We're busy trying to transition from the minority Afrikaans rule into Black majority rule. So there was a lot of killing that was going on the streets. Blood was being shed. South Africans were killing each other. Self-defense units, self-protection units, apartheid government, Umkhonto Wesizwe. There was just a lot of killing going on in the country. That amounted to 16,000 homicides in a year. Get a load of this. In 2021, that number soared to 25,181 people murdered in a year. Now, I want you to explain to me, how is that normal to have 25,000 people murdered in a year? And it's not a war zone. It's not Gaza. It's not Israel versus Palestine. It's not Ukraine versus Russia. It's nothing of the sort. It's just simply a country existing. And apparently, we're a peaceful country. We're a democratic country, a country that is not lawless. But 25,000 people are losing their lives to violence every single year. That is crazy. We need to hold our governments accountable for these types of statistics. Finally, sexual abuse against women. In 1995, there was about 34,783 reported cases of sexual abuse against women. By 2021, that figure rose to approximately 41,739. Okay, so women are less safer in this new South Africa, regardless that these government officials are taking billions of rands from NGOs to push GBV initiatives and feminism initiatives, but women are still dying more than they've ever died before. Okay? Homicide rates. Men themselves are dying more than they've ever died. We're dying more than some countries that are war-torn right now. Just get a load of that. You're more likely to die in South Africa than some countries that are in war if you were in the war. Imagine that. We can barely get any electricity going. This is the AI age, right? We're supposed to be able to compete against major economies. There's so many other advancements that are happening in technology. And technology, unfortunately, just requires electricity. So South Africa will never be able to compete on the global stage. You can start your startup, you can create the most brilliant idea, but you cannot compete with the people in Silicon Valley because they just have electricity. And the whole thing that you're working on is electricity based. So as a result of that, there's no way that you could find yourself being competitive in the international market. So I don't even want to talk about unemployment because that relates to a stifled economy, that relates to us not even having customers to sell to, because who's going to buy all your fancy stuff when we're already just struggling to stay alive? Like, this economy is it's pretty much sad. I always ask myself, what were they going to learn in these international countries? Didn't they tell us that these are economists, professional economists? They're going to save. Well, yeah, but you know what? Politicians can really famous. You gotta respect the game, man. You really, really gotta respect the game. And I think really the evidence so far, I've only highlighted 5 points, right? I've only highlighted 5 points, but I think the evidence is pretty damning, and it requires an honest reckoning from us as a people. If you're defending the ANC right now, it must be that you're either a beneficiary or you're already an elite, or the final category that a lot of you fall into. You must be an idiot. Really, you must be an idiot. This country is in material decline in every single measurable metric, bro. It's no longer taboo for a South African who was born after 1994 under a black-led government to just use their brain and tell you that, nah, things are getting worse. They're definitely not getting better. But also to place the blame squarely on the ANC is a lazy trail of thought. And that's what we're not going to do here at the Born Free Network. Here at the Born Free Network, we're really going to investigate the causes of everything. And I think we really need to understand South Africa by having a deeper look at its colonial roots, the imperial interests, the economic systems, and the architects who designed this whole system before the ANC ever took office, right? It means that our journey as the Born Frees is only getting started right now. There's still so much we need to unpack, challenge, and rebuild brick by brick. So if this conversation resonated with you, don't scroll past. Make sure that you subscribe, that you like, that you share this video, become a part of the Born Free Network. Please make sure that you subscribe to the network. I want us to really go in on something here that really touched me, right? When I was speaking about the chemical warfare that is being leveraged against Black South Africans using all of these drugs that are being imported, I think it's very important to maybe understand when we say this. This is not a conspiracy, right? This is a global concerted effort to destroy societies and destroy any ability to resist the oncoming slavery. And I think in 2020, any of you who were already awake in 2020 during the COVID pandemic, you might have seen how the world kind of got accelerated. It's no longer this fragmented piece of land that we all live in. You are South African, you are American. During COVID, we kind of all became an international community where anything that happened in America had to happen same time in South Africa, same time in Switzerland. And it showed us that the new powers that are now in control of the world were able to rule it simultaneously with the same amount of effectiveness everywhere, right? So even right now, the destruction of South African society through the influx of drugs, it's not just South Africa. We need to zoom out and look at what's happening globally. The Americans are complaining about being force-fed fentanyl, right? They're complaining that their government doesn't care about the illegal immigration. Their government doesn't care about the growing unemployment of its own people. So it seems as if this is a system or a pattern which keeps repeating itself across many different types of governments. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know y'all know me as a rapper, so y'all just want bars right now, but this is also not the time for us to put entertainment ahead of country duty. Shall I say that? You know, it's not a good time for us to have those types of arguments like, oh, you're being too serious. No, let's actually talk a bit about Amapiano as well. This global rise in Amapiano, this surge in popularity is not coincidental. The algorithms that control the music that you consume are also instructed at a higher up level on what to make popular and what to make trendy. And if you don't believe this, I want you to have just think deeply about a month ago, 2 months ago, when Kanye West tried to release a song called Heil Hitler. That song was removed on every single streaming platform within about an hour of its upload, just as a proof that there are people who control, even in the music industry, the type of perception that you're supposed to have about the world. So once you listen to that song and then maybe changes your mind and then you go and research some other things that might have not been made so available to you, that's when you see, oh, damn, the world has so many things that are hidden from us. So music itself is a form of mind control. When you see all the artists make the same type of song, use the same slang, same drip, that's because that's all that's acceptable within the sphere. Anything else is going to be sidelined and censored. So that way they've been able to control the narrative. Where does the music go? Let's speak about hip hop real quickly. Let's speak about how they were able to use hip hop, right? Hip hop, I won't say used to be a revolutionary type of music, but it was a music that evolved into being able to carry revolutionary messages, right? There was something called an underground hip hop and there was a mainstream hip hop, and the divide between these two things was very simple. It wasn't about your commercial success. It was truthfully more about your message and what you carried as a movement. But after the algorithms came into play, it was literally impossible for you to trend with a song which has a certain type of message over another type of message. You understand? Like if a rapper like a Tech Nine would drop and a Young Thug would drop, the algorithm already knows what time it is. Trap beats follow those BPMs, so they're pre-programmed to receive stuff like that. So I don't want people who say, "Oh, you're just an entertainer, stick to entertainment." No, look at the entertainers in South Africa that are currently sticking to entertainment. They have nothing to offer the current discourse. Everyone is just looking out for their own stomachs. Understandable, but also not very respectable. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me for the first ever live stream of the Born Free. If you like these conversations, if you like what we've spoken about and you'd like us to go deeper into some other aspects or some other topics that we touched on, please do comment. Let me know what it is that you would like us to attend to. Please like, subscribe, and share this channel. We are going to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And we're going to use our own independent minds to assess what's going on in this country. We're going to protect ourselves from psychological operations. We don't want to be caught lacking. We don't want to be another generation that is fooled by mass media, like the previous generation was fooled to believe that the ANC actually had anything positive to offer them. We need to be different from that. And this is the Born Free Network. We are the heirs of this democracy, and therefore, extremely, extremely important conversations need to be had. Up until next time, thank you very much.